Welcome, everybody, to the Table Rush Talk Show, where we dive deep into entrepreneurship, marketing, and personal growth. I'm your host, Misha Zvagintsev. Today, we're diving into the world of e-commerce logistics with Dave Gulas, co-founder and president of EZDC3PL, a company revolutionizing fulfillment for growing brands. With over 20 years of experience, Dave is a true maestro of supply chains, helping businesses scale by taking the logistics headaches off of their plates. In this episode, we explore what happens when your e-commerce business starts booming. Think inventory chaos, customer service overload, and the stress of scaling. Dave shares his expert tips, real-life stories, and actionable advice to help entrepreneurs thrive. Let's jump in. Dave, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Misha. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. Let's just dive right into it and tell me what you do.
So EasyDC 3PL, we provide warehousing, fulfillment, transportation services for manufacturers and e-commerce brands. So if you think about, a company that sells things online, oftentimes as they grow, even if they start off fulfilling in-house, whether, they have they're doing it out of their home and to start off, or even a small warehouse, as they grow and scale, eventually they reach a point where they'll need to outsource their fulfillment operations to continue to grow and scale, assuming that they don't want to get a bigger warehouse, manage staff, do all that thing. So many of them really are not logistics professionals. So as a company grows and scales, they find it advantageous to just outsource it out to someone that has the resources and has the warehousing, so they can focus on just marketing and product development and all the other aspects that of their business that are important to grow.
Cool. So as you've got an e-com business that is starting to grow, what are the main pain points that they're starting to see? Like, what does that literally look and feel like, or what are their thoughts too? What are their feelings as they're starting to feel those pain points? And maybe give me,
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So as many e-commerce companies start, humble beginnings, whether it's the entrepreneur, fulfilling out of their home, out of their basement, out of wherever, and the more sales they get, the better. But then when you think about what that looks like, if it's hundreds of orders a day, even sometimes thousands of orders a day, if you have a company that's not used to logistics and trying to manage that in terms of tracking the inventory, actually just pick, pack, and shipping all the orders, managing the staff to do so, handling the spikes in volume. As sometimes too, there may be weekend sales and you'll get a huge rush of orders over the weekend that all have to go out on that Monday. The costs are very important. So you talk about negotiating parcel rates with the carriers and what that looks like. And that's not an easy thing to do, particularly for someone that's not experienced in that. And just dealing with customer service issues, any type of mistake with an order, returns, all these things. As a company really starts to grow and scale, the logistics can become a big headache for an entrepreneur that's not experienced in that and doesn't have the resources or doesn't want to spend their time building out the resources to do so. So the 3PL space is very, it's grown considerably over the last 20 years or so, and it continues to grow just for that reason, that oftentimes the people that come up with these ideas and drive a business and grow a business oftentimes don't want to handle the headache that is the logistics portion of it.
And what is the 3PL space? I'm a rookie when it comes to terminology. So you said, oh, that's normal in the 3PL space.
Yeah, so 3PL stands for third party logistics. So that just means a third party is handling the logistics. And in our case, brands will rent space in our warehouse, and then we'll connect to their shopping cart, Shopify or whatever it is, and then we'll manage their inventory with our software, with our warehouse management system. When people order online, the orders will flow through to us. We'll know to pick, pack, and ship their orders. And then they have access to a portal where they'll see all their inventory in real time. They'll see the tracking. They can manage everything and have access to it. But we handle the fulfillment of their orders that are going out.
Cool. So I'm thinking of two types of businesses. I'm thinking of the mom and pop shop that starts out with almost hobby or side hustle. So they come up with an idea, they start selling it, it starts to take off. Maybe they get lucky and create a funnel that that starts selling their product, or great word of mouth. And so they're doing it all themselves. Then they bring in their kids to help pack the products, or their best friends, or do these kinds of things to get the shipping out. Is that the normal arc that you see, or is it somebody who's much more strategic and tactical and says, all right, I'm going to bring this product to market, I'm obviously going to need distribution, boom, boom, boom. I'm thinking of those two types of customers. Maybe you could speak to the first one.
Yeah, I mean we see both of those, but so often, and because we're Easy DC is a newer company, we're just over 2 years old, so we do deal with emerging brands and whatnot, not, and oftentimes you'll see that entrepreneur with that ready, fire, aim approach, where they develop a product and they start selling it, they just start doing it, and it starts to take off, and then as it does, they realize if it's going to continue to grow, what a hassle it is to fulfill their own orders and to be running to the UPS store every day and managing all that and then controlling the costs. And then as the inventory, if they build out more products and they add more SKUs, and then they have to have a software to manage all this inventory. And it can be a very time intensive, capital intensive. So the 3PL market exists as a way for brands to scale quicker, where they can basically leverage our resources, our expertise to scale quicker, and that way they can focus on the branding, the product development, the sales aspect, the advertising, all the other aspects of growing that business, and we can handle the logistics.
Cool, cool. I guess what I'm looking for from you is I want like some real time dirty stories, right? Because it's like, yeah, that's the party line. You're frustrated with your logistics. You're having troubles with fulfillment. Yeah, like, but what does that literally look like? Like I'm imagining husband and wife working together. They had a great relationship. Their product's taking off, and now they're fighting all the time. They're like, no, you need to go get the stuff to the store. No, you need to deal with no, to to UPS. No, you need to deal with the the customer service, and then you've got tension, or maybe there's stresses on bank accounts, or like give me some flavor. Does that make sense? And maybe I don't know, how do you get into the business, or
Yeah, yeah,
you have your yeah. Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, all those things are exactly right too, in terms of, and a couple parts to your question, but in terms of what that looks like. Do you remember that commercial? I mean, this is years and years ago, but it was when e-commerce was start taking off, and someone was just launching a new website, and they were seeing the order count go up, and they were so excited. And then as it continued to go up, it got so big that everything crashed, and they were like, "Oh no, what do we do?" Do you remember that? I mean, it was a big
Yes,
commercial years and
yes,
years ago.
yes.
So, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Everyone that's in e-commerce or selling something online, they want to see more orders because every order is more profit for them. But the harsh reality is, as that continues to grow, someone's got to pick, pack, and ship all those orders. Someone has to manage the replenishment. Someone that there has to be software once you reach a certain point to manage the inventory accurately. And all those things take time. They take money. They take resources, and so often people just aren't prepared to deal with that. So yeah, it can put stress on family, and if or the other thing too that really no one wants to go through is if you don't get orders out on time. If you think about what the world is like today, we're all, I don't want to say so, we're all used to the Amazon effect, to where you click a button and something shows up even same day now, same day, next day, right? It's on the way, and people just expect that. So if you're going to be in that space of selling something online, you want to be able to offer a good customer experience where they get it quickly and it's accurate. It's what they ordered. And the reality of someone, a startup or an emerging brand, or even just someone with limited resources, growing and scaling a company by themselves with handling the logistics themselves, it's very difficult to do. And brands do it. We see some people do it, but you're certainly going to need to invest in that. You're going to have to manage the staff to do that. And there's so many parts of that that people just don't want to deal with. And when you look at what we can offer them in terms of the service relative to the cost, for many brands, it's just a no-brainer to go with a 3PL because they can take that headache out and they can hire us to do it. They can rent space in our warehouse. They can have us fill their orders. They can leverage our parcel rates and save money on the shipping. They can leverage our software for a nominal cost versus what it would cost to get their own and then set it up and then deal with any bugs that pop up and et cetera, et cetera. So it's just it's a very affordable way for a brand to scale as they're growing, and they hit that growth curve to where that the orders really start to take off, and they don't want to put all that capital expenditure out and really build out the logistics themselves, because oftentimes brands, either they're not able to, or even if they could, they're like fuck, why would I want to do that? You know what I mean? When you think about, I got to go rent a warehouse, I got to negotiate this lease, like what if my business doesn't sustain himself and I got this warehouse? You know what I mean? There's all these
Yeah.
things that are unknowns that it just really offers a very viable way for a brand to scale as their business is growing in the early stages.
I love that. And I'm betting that people get to a breaking point where they're trying to do it themselves and the thoughts they literally have are probably, I want to shut this down because what was fun and my dream has now turned into a nightmare and more work than I want to deal with. And the idea of creating their own or even outsourcing could almost be overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like we've had customers say like, and that's the best part for us too, is like they say, "Wow, hiring you guys was the best decision I ever made." They talk about, more time with their families or just more time focusing on their area of genius. Because oftentimes too, you think about an entrepreneur that's going to start a business and grow a business and promote the brand and really develop this product, or kind of be the main advocate for this product. Usually they're not going to be that same type of personality is not going to have an expertise in the logistics portion of it. So it just makes sense to partner with a company that can provide those services at a very affordable cost, and that way it's a win-win.
Love that. So, quick origin story. How does Dave end up in logistics? Like, I'm going to open a warehouse. Isn't it in Kentucky or something like that, too? Where are you?
Yeah, yeah. So I've been prior to this, I was in the the pharmaceutical industry for like 20 years, and it was on the secondary market, and it was dealing with small business owners. And I've been in sales my whole life. Started in sales there, worked up to an executive position, and so I was uh, running a sales team and purchasing the inventory and managing all that. And like every day I was in the warehouse seeing what came in, and as soon as it came in, it needed to go out. And, I was managing that type of logistics. And, again, right, there's a whole industry of companies like that. And the company I worked for ended up going under. And so I connected with a very good friend in the industry that had like a similar company, and we were talking about something else to start, and we both wanted it to be into another vertical beyond pharmaceuticals. And we knew several people that were in e-commerce sales, and they were having issues with their 3PL, where they were getting poor customer service, their orders weren't going out. And it kind of seemed to be a trend that if you weren't like if you weren't a big brand, you were getting kind of second class service from these people that we knew. And then we just had the idea, like, what, we're in a very high touch customer service environment. We're used to going the extra mile for the customers. We're used to dealing with problems that pop up out of the blue. why don't we just start a 3PL? Because there a whole area of the market that we could service well. So that was kind of the brainchild of how we could do this. Because from our section of the pharmaceutical market, we really thought we knew logistics and that we could do this very well. And then when we got in there, we realized how much we didn't know uh, about logistics, and so it's been a lot of learning on the fly, and again, just developing, as we grow. But that's how the company got started.
I love that. Let's dive into what you didn't know, how much you didn't know. So what have been the key things along the way where you're like, "Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh."
Yeah, I guess again, from the pharmaceutical world, right, that we're in, it was much simpler where you're just buying a product and reselling it, right? Very kind of basic model. You make your margin, on the spread there. Where in the 3PL world, every customer is different. You're dealing with a whole bunch of different products. You're dealing with different ways that they want their fulfillment done. You're connecting to a different shopping cart with every customer. They have different channels that they sell into, whether it's B2B retail, sometimes big box, or direct to consumer on like a Shopify or Amazon or Walmart, or one of these other marketplaces that are out there. So there's all these different moving parts, and then there's all sorts of opportunities for things to go wrong along with that. So yeah, we've experienced all that, and then even before we even got there too, from the pharma world too, it was just a different type of sale, to where you would buy a list, and there was a certain niche of customers you would call on, and it was I was always very good at cold calling B2B and opening up new business, right? And I thought, okay, great, I can do this in logistics. And then when I got in here, I realized that's not the way this industry works at all. To where people need to find you, right? And people don't move warehouses all that often, right? And timing is everything. So it wasn't so much about just cold calling and looking for that customer that's buying what you're selling. It was really about building a personal brand and being visible and having people know who you are. So when they are ready, you're top of mind and they can find you that way. Um, so I very early on, I experienced a rude awakening because I was practically invisible online and on social media, and I never really marketed that way in my previous career. So I quickly had to, being the face of the company, I quickly had to build a presence on social media, start posting, and start really getting out there. And that's what I did. And again, right, I didn't know how to do that, but I started learning and started doing it and figured it out as I went. And then not long after that, I started the podcast too, which was a huge inflection point for us, and it brought in, helped us convert leads much easier. It's done wonders in terms of lead generation. Um, and again, right, I just had the idea one day, and I said, "Wow, that sounds good," and I just started doing it. And yeah, about a year later, we've published 85 episodes and still going strong. And yeah, it's been a lot of fun as well.
I love that. So let's dive into the podcast a little bit as a lead generation source for you. Walk me through the process, or like, is it the people that you're interviewing that are potential customers as well as listeners? Were you strategic about it when you started it? Like, take me from A to B to C.
Yeah, so no, it's when I started it, the reason I got the idea is because on the journey, right? I didn't know what I didn't know. Was falling on my face a lot in the early days, but what always seemed to be the most valuable and the best source of learning for me was conversations with other entrepreneurs, especially if it was about a problem I have, and I would tell them, and they say, "Oh, I had something similar, and I did this." Or I would hear their story and what they overcame, and it's like, wow, I think I'm having a tough time. Look what this guy had to go through. And it's all those type of conversations. And then one day the idea popped in my head. It's like, wow, if you started a podcast and you put these conversations in a public forum, the audience could benefit, the guests would get exposure, you would benefit. It could truly be a win-win. And then so that's what I did. And I had nothing was built. I just put it out an announcement on LinkedIn, like, "Hey, I'm starting a podcast," because I didn't even know if anyone would want to listen or be on it, or any of that. So when I put the announcement out, I got a very positive response. A bunch of people liked it, and a few people reached out and said, "Hey, I'd love to be a guest." And so I just started doing it. So in the beginning, I was just looking for anyone that would want to be on my show. And it was logistics entrepreneurs because those are typically the people I was talking to at that time. And then as it's grown, I've tried to just branch out to a wide variety of different entrepreneurs. And just the whole point being like, as an entrepreneur, right? Okay, I'm in logistics, but I don't have to only learn from someone in logistics. I could learn from somebody in any other type of business in terms of a marketing strategy they used, the way they solved a problem. I find too that entrepreneurs are always looking for anything that someone did well and how they can apply that to something that they're doing. So I thought, why not just get a wide range of stories, wide range of entrepreneurs? And for us too, like any entrepreneur that has a physical product that they sell, we potentially have a solution for. So I thought, if as long as the audience is entrepreneurs, enough people are going to see it to where they'll know me, and then they'll know I have a 3PL, and if there is a fit, they'll potentially reach out. So that was kind of the thought process behind it.
Amazing. And have you literally gotten a customer or two from your podcast? And that could either be, or both of these, somebody that you have interviewed or somebody reached out to you via the podcast that was like, you could source it. You could say, oh,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, tell me.
Several. I mean, yeah. I mean, a guy I interviewed, he's referred me a couple different people, and then someone else that's turned out to be one of our best customers. They were having problems, and they reached out and they said, "Hey, I saw you on YouTube, and I want to talk to you." And the other thing too is like in the 3PL space, right? So in the U.S. alone, statistics say there's over 10,000 3PL companies, right? But the vast majority of them operate as faceless, nameless companies, right? And if you think about a brand and putting their trust in somebody, like their inventory and their product oftentimes is their biggest asset or their entire livelihood. So it takes an incredible amount of trust to actually send your inventory to a 3PL to fulfill your orders. And so by me being on video every day and constantly releasing episodes and interviewing all these successful entrepreneurs and getting good reviews, them seeing me out there, it develops trust. And they can get to know who I am just by watching the conversations. But B, they'll see me and they'll say, well, I mean, this guy's on video all the time and he's interviewing all these well-known people. I mean, he's not hard to find. He's certainly not going to go anywhere if there's a problem. So that's a stark contrast from the vast majority of the industry out there, which gives us another advantage, just in terms of being visible online and continually being present.
Beautiful. Uh, You started this business, the, I'm looking for the exact name because the terminology is still new to me. The Easy DC 3PL. You started that 2 years ago, you said?
Mhm.
Amazing. Where are you with your business right now as a growth curve, resident revenue, profitability, perhaps employees? Like, give me a picture of where Dave, you and your partner are with Easy DC 3PL right now.
Yeah, I mean, we've got like 10 employees in total. I mean, we are growing month over month. We're just coming into Q4, and yeah, just we've got almost 30 customers at the moment. So I mean, we've had some, we in the beginning too, right? We had more than that in the beginning too. One of the mistakes I made was kind of chasing every deal and maybe bringing in the wrong type of account that maybe wasn't the best fit. So I mean, we've ended some of those relationships too because it just wasn't the right fit. But then that's part of the process too, is just figuring out exactly who we are, what we want to specialize in, what we want to focus on, and really we want to just continue to improve and grow and just always provide an outstanding customer service, so or customer experience rather. And we just brought on a very experienced warehouse manager that we worked with the recruiter to find, so that was kind of a next step for us. and yeah, just continuing to grow and just provide the best service we possibly can for our customers.
Beautiful. I I, I love that. I main is it your main source of income for you right now? And that might be a strange question, but I think as for us entrepreneurs that are growing business, sometimes the growth curve, we're funding that with other things. I just read the Nike book, for example, the Nike book, Shoe Dog. And, as Phil Knight was building Nike, excuse me, there was a lot of, revenue from his other job funding his passion, for example.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the company has a sister company which distributes pharmaceuticals that I have some involvement with. So, there's income there. I do freight on the side as well, so that helps. But yeah, as far as like my full time thing is running Easy DC. So, I mean, and yeah, I've yeah, I've always been in sales my whole life, so I've always had uh always had commission coming in and whatnot, that type of thing. But
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It wasn't to put you on the spot necessarily, and I had a train or a train of thought where I was going to go with this, but it seems to have gotten elusive for me right now. I I guess the next question I would have would be your when we I was on your podcast and we've had some conversations before this. So one of the things that you had said that I thought was very interesting was the customers that are best fit for you. You had said you find people with all three of these things. And I'm trying to remember what those three things were, or does that spark a memory, or do you know what I'm talking about when I refer to that?
with our customers, as far as the three things,
Yeah, yeah, yes.
well, so I mean, we do warehousing, fulfillment, and transportation. Is that the three things you're talking about,
Uh,
or?
I think it might have been pain points or where they were in the arcs of their business. So, what did I have? Well, one thing which we can dive into at some point, which I have on my notes, is that Google Your Business is crushing it for you right now. Um, and you had said you sell the pain points of distribution. You said, hey, that's what's good. Obviously, being a sales guy, you're sell the pain points of distribution. But then when I was taking notes at that time, you'd said, yeah, I find people with all three of these things. And I can't remember what that was. And
Maybe it was, so like you said, the Google My Business, right? Like the podcast and the social media all kind of feeds into our Google search. So I do find that a lot more people, I get calls out of the blue constantly from people that find me on Google. And, every podcast episode I'm on, links back to the company. Every podcast episode I release of my own podcast, talks about our company and links back there. So I do find that constantly putting out more content and backlinking to more shows and et cetera, just continues to build our Google search. So we do very well considering how new of a company we are compared to people with much more established names in our area, like on Google specifically.
cool. Other interesting notes that I had written down were you have written a few books and you're writing one right now. Let's go through the three books that you've written and give me 3 minutes on each. Let's start with book number one.
Okay. Well, they're ebooks. Just to be clear, they're not books, but they're ebooks. Um, so the first one it's called The Five Bad Sales Habits That Are Killing Your Deals and How to Fix Them. And so that's available right now on Gumroad. And what that is after my first year as a founder, I got just pitched relentlessly with every type of product you can think of, right? Publicly growing a business, I was just inundated with sales calls from people. And so many of them, right? The vast majority of them were just atrocious sales attempts, like like just tone deaf and just classic pushy salesperson that's not listening and is only concerned about a check and is not even doing the sales process the right way. So I guess it was a moment of inspiration. I said, I should write a book about this. So I took 5 of them, personal experiences, and I wrote about what actually happened. And then I wrote about what I would have done or the correct way to sell in this process. I didn't put any names in there, but I kind of described, the scenarios. And I guess the takeaway from that is I didn't realize how big of an audience you actually need to sell a digital product. So, I mean, for everybody that took the time to read it said, wow, I really liked it and got great reviews. The problem is just not that many people read it. I mean, I think it's got like 6 reviews right now and whatnot. But I mean, I'm proud of that because I thought, again, and it's real, and people did get value from it, and that was a good experience. I mean, I think it's like 15 pages, but you know,
Uh,
there's
uh,
that.
Amazing. So, what are the 5 bad sales habits that are killing my deals? What are they?
Oh boy, well, so one of them too. I'll just tell you a couple of the stories, but
Yeah.
one of them literally was a woman literally cornered me at a trade show where I was at my booth, and she just came up to me and she was just like, "Oh, you're a 3PL. I got this software, 3PL, and it's for 3PLs, and it's this and it's that." And she literally was like I couldn't even walk away. It was just so awkward, and she just was expecting me to like just buy, and she didn't even take the time to ask me any questions. And her solution was more for like closer to like enterprise type level. And I mean, we're like a startup basically. And it just was just, and eventually she just left, but I'm just like, wow, she doesn't get it. So I wrote about that one.
And
Um,
so, is the answer to that ask questions or have your avatar in line or slow down or
yeah, I mean, again, like that it's just like you want to have permission to present. So yeah, you want to find out exactly who you're talking to, what their challenges are, where, and again, if you have a product for 3PLs and you're talking to a 3PL, you still want to ask them again, how long have you been in business? What does your business look like? What are your customers? Before you even start, presenting something like that, yeah, you want to understand exactly who you're dealing with. And I talk about this story. I've talked about it before elsewhere, but a friend of mine that I know, his name's Darren Jacklin, right? He's a professional speaker, and he was on my podcast, but he uses this line all the time. Prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. Like literally, if you're in the medical profession and you're a doctor or something, if you prescribe without diagnosing, that is the textbook definition of malpractice, right? And that there's big trouble if you do that. But yet in sales, right, you see that everywhere. Everybody is committing sales malpractice because so many people are trying to sell you something and push you into something without even knowing who you are, what your pain points are. Is their solution even the right fit? They don't take the time to actually do discovery and figure out, should I even make a presentation? They just go straight to the presentation. They try to hammer close the sale, and it's not a fit. And all it does is push people away. It makes them look bad, and it's just not a good look.
amazing, Dave. I'm gonna say this quote and I'm gonna give you credit for it. We are literally committing sales malpractice. All right, amazing. Okay, that's so good. Let's go on to book number 2.
So book number 2 was it was called Ready Set Podcast, and really it was just about how to start a podcast, low cost, no cost, with no experience, which is what I did. And it was a collaboration with me and my marketing team. Because again, right, they helped me with social media stuff, and they helped me get the podcast off the ground, and just in terms of even showing me how to record and how to set it up, and what it should look like, and how to publish and all that kind of stuff, right? And um I got so many compliments because too, when I was interviewing people and I kept going along, I would talk to people and they were like, wow, congratulations, I really want to start a podcast. I even bought equipment and I just haven't been able to get it off the ground, or I haven't been able to start. And I realized too, right? It's not difficult. You just have to get out there and do it. But I mean, we just put some quick steps together, which is exactly what I did. And we just put that in a little ebook. And and yeah, put it out there. And yeah, some people looked at it, and I think it's even like a free giveaway now. But yeah, again, it was just something that I thought maybe could provide value to some people, and it was just a quick way of, because I hear that a lot from people as terms of they want to start, but they just haven't been able to. And I literally, I didn't have a mic when I first started. I just started was doing it over Zoom calls, and I said it's a podcast, and
Yeah.
I put it out, and I just kept doing it.
Amazing. So many people that want to start a podcast right now overthink it, and they think they need this amazing, this massive tech stack, expensive tech stack, think that it needs to be overproduced, things like that. So it's really cool that you made a little ebook to help people just get started, take that action, take that messy action. I did want to say to everybody watching, listening as well, if you're grooving on what Dave has to say and you want to follow him, you can find his company at EZDC3PL.com. And that's the number three. So literally just type in what I'm telling you, EZDC3PL.com, and you can learn more about distribution, about what Dave and his partner do, things like that. Book number three.
Book number three is still is not. You know, I told you that, and I was working on it, and I don't know what happened. Right, I just got busy, and it's ironic too, right? Because the book is called. You'll laugh at this. The book is called Default to Action, and in the middle of it, I stopped taking the action, which is and the way that came about too is I was on somebody else's podcast, and I'll give him a shout out. His name's Ethan Vandehay, and he's got a podcast that's called Encourage Mindset. And so and that day too, I was really busy, had a bunch of meetings. I did the podcast, and I had to take off somewhere else right away. So I literally didn't even think about it, right? I don't even remember what I said, right? You know how that is, right? We just had the interview and left. And then when it came out, he named the episode Default to Action. And I listened to it, and I'm talking, and I was like, wow, right? That's really good. I should turn that into a book. And so I started doing it, and it just somewhere along the line, I just fell off, and it's not finished yet. So.
Hey, that's all right. It's funny. I remember you told me actually about that book, our previous conversation, whatever that was a few weeks ago. And it was about take messy action, especially when you don't know what you're doing. And we were both talking about our business arcs, or as we're trying to build our little businesses, about how that has served us so much. I think that was how that came about, actually, or you telling me about the book.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's like been the story of my life basically, is just do it before you're ready. And in the process of that, you become ready and you develop, the skills necessary. And I think that's what holds so many people back, is like they think they have to have it all figured out before they take action. And the reality is no one has it all figured out. No one, everyone's just the people that you see out there succeeding. They just do it, and they make their mistakes, and they figure it out along the way, and through that process you develop much more competence and get better, and the fear disappears, and you continue to rinse repeat, make your adjustments, and you find yourself a lot further ahead that way than versus trying to get ready and then take action. That's never worked for me.
Yeah. How often would you say in your journey you've wanted to quit?
um I don't know that I've ever wanted to. I mean, like, you always, right, your mind will fuck with you, right? Like, a lot, right? All the time. But I guess for me, I can't quit, right? There's no, even if I wanted to quit, I can't quit, right? But I wouldn't say I've ever just say, oh, I want to give up, or I want to just shut this down. It's just like, there are times where it's just like, you're just your mind is just, how are you gonna move this forward, or how are you going to fix this mess, or how whatever it is, right? So there's been numerous times and challenges, right? And but I mean, that's I think the way I get past that is no matter what's going on, no matter what challenge you're facing, no matter how difficult it is, you always get up and go to work and continue to push through whatever difficulty you are. And through that action and through that work, you just continue to move forward. And you realize too, right, that there's ebbs and flows with life. There's ups and downs, and your mind, right? You might, it might come at you that way at times, but when you put it in perspective and you realize how much you have to be grateful for, that oftentimes helps me at least deal with those issues.
Yeah. I'm envisioning quit for you, and we'll talk about this in a second, that you've got a stack of kids. You've got 6 kids. So, you when you say you can't quit, you can't quit. You've got 6 kids, you've got a wife, family to feed. So there's some work-life balance we can talk about. But I'm guessing quitting for you might be, well, I'm going to shutter my business and go back to the corporate life, or go back to a traditional sales job. Maybe throw it in on the dream of your own business. Maybe that is representative of quitting.
Well, right, like I guess that's for some people, right? That's an option, or that's maybe something they do or they consider. But like I remember those corporate days, right? And no matter like there's all right, I'll explain it like this, right? Like you've heard that framework of choose your hard. Everything is hard, right? Choose your hard. So, right,
Yeah.
it's hard to grow a business, right? It's hard to build a startup. It's hard to deal with, working a lot of extra hours, and maybe it's not the income you want, or maybe things aren't going the way, right? That's hard, right? But it's also hard to go to a job where you're not fulfilled. And your mind, okay, so maybe your mind, if you're an entrepreneur, your mind is messing with you in terms of, right, all how are you going to do this? It's not going to grow. What if this? What if that? But in the corporate world, if you're really not meant to be in that place, your mind is, your mind is also going to mess with you. Like, why didn't you go for it? Or are you really going to be happy here for the next 10 years? Or, are you really being all you can be? So either way, you're going to deal with something that's hard. So I would rather know that I'm pursuing something that I'm passionate about, and I am, taking risks, and I am, following my passion, and like I'll take that over the you know the if maybe going a safer route, but yet I know that I'm not fulfilled, and I'm not becoming everything that I was meant to be.
That's good. Thank you for that. 6 kids, I mentioned. You have a fleet of kids. Let's talk a little bit about work-life balance, and that is going to be hard to find work-life balance when you've got, I don't care what ages they are either. If you've got that family, you've got a wife. So I'm not looking for perfection here, but talk to me a little bit about that, about any struggles within that, or wins or failures, or like, talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, well, I'll give you the story. So my oldest is 21, and he's from a previous relationship, and at the time, right, I wasn't ready to be a father. We didn't plan on having a child, and we didn't, stay together. So I literally became a father before I was ready, and we made the best of it, made it work, and I was always there for him. We always shared time and had a good relationship all throughout, and yeah, he's turned out fine. And then my wife and I met my wife when he was about 2 years old. And so she quickly, helped me out with a lot of stuff because, again, right, I wasn't prepared to be a father at the time and whatnot. And after we got married, we quickly had 5 kids within 5 years. So, now they're a little bit older. So right now they're in grades 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 10th at the moment. So, I mean, so you think the youngest is 11 years old right now. So for the last decade plus, we've been dealing with the various stages of just having a very busy household, and dealing with all that. So it's just different, right? I don't even want to say easier, because in many ways it's more challenging now with, teenagers and that whole dynamic versus, a bunch of them in diapers. But I mean, it's always a lot of work. Like the work doesn't stop when you get home, right? there's no sitting on the couch and having a beer and just forgetting about anything, right? There's always things to be done. So um, but yeah, listen, they're all athletes too, right? They all played a variety of sports. So right now too, there's a lot of logistics within the household in terms of getting them to the various practices, going to the games, all the stuff involved with that. And, yeah, but I mean, listen, we love it, and we really, again, right? We have a big support system too in terms of family and friends and everyone carpooling and helping out wherever's needed. But I mean, I think they all have a strong work ethic, and they all are very focused and driven on what they're doing. And my wife is incredible, right? She manages the household, and she's always such a good mom. Like, she was meant to be a mom, right? So I just think it's very busy, but it's listen, we have a great time, and we're just focused on providing them with the best possible opportunity we can, and supporting them with what they want to do.
Is she a good cook?
She is. She is a very good cook. Yeah, she is a very good cook.
Good.
Yeah.
A bonus. Favorite meal? What do you like? Oh yeah, pot roast tonight. Or what is it? What's your favorite thing that she says, I'm cooking this tonight, and you're like, yes.
Um, I mean, she a lot of time it's like grilled chicken and rice a lot of times with a variety of different flavors and whatnot. But I mean, there's always, she's always making something dish. She likes to do like really like put it all into a meal and make a lot of different stuff. And I'm more just kind of basic. But so yeah, she's always making different recipes and that. But I'll eat pretty much whatever, right? If I'm hungry. So it all works out.
Yeah, good, good, good. So someone finds you and they go, I need logistical help. Do you have a process you run them through to see if they're a good fit, or steps in a process for that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, really, the first step is just to have a conversation and ask them, what their business is and what they're looking for. I mean, we have a discovery form that and that the conversation kind of follows the outline of that. So sometimes people, just depending on their personality type too, maybe if they're very analytical and data oriented, they'll be more than happy to fill everything out in a discovery form. But me personally, I just like to talk to them and get a feel for what their business is, what they're looking for, and really do the discovery, and then see if we're a good fit, and if so, how, and let them know how we can help. And yeah, the sales cycle is certainly not. It oftentimes it's not quick, right? Because people certainly take their time when they're moving into a warehouse, and they're typically looking at several companies and in the process. But yeah, I try to meet people where they're at, find exactly what they're looking for, how soon they're looking to make a move, what specifically they need, let them know about us and what we offer, and see if there's a fit. And then, we go through the pricing aspect and make sure that's aligned. And then, yeah, if everything works out, then we sign the agreement and we proceed.
Fantastic. And what are the key metrics of a customer where you go, oh yeah, this guy, we can help him, or this lady, or this company? Is it are you looking for certain revenue? Are you looking for, what are key things where you froth and you're excited?
Well, and anybody that's in the 3PL world, or that's a 3PL, they typically would like a lower SKU count, right? Where you're not dealing with 500 different SKUs, right, and all sorts of opportunity for error or complexity or whatnot. But I mean, again, right, it just depends, right? It's very rare that you get exactly what you would maybe call ideal, right? Because every business is different. They have different challenges and whatnot. So ideally, yeah, we like something that's small, lightweight, easy to ship, low SKU count, fast mover, doesn't take up a ton of space. That would be ideal. But again, right, there's all sorts of companies we run into, various shapes, sizes, and different life cycle of their own business, and different challenges, and different needs, different wants. And so again, right, we just try to see where they're at and let them know what we offer, and if there's a fit and we feel we're aligned, and Usually the transaction just it's natural, and then yeah, we sign the agreement and we move forward.
Perfect. What's the main reason? Like, how about this? When I was a home loan officer for 15, 20 years, something like that, maybe even 25, lost track by now. But when I was pre-qualing someone or interviewing someone or having that discovery call, I'm looking for what's your income? Great. And, give me your 2-year work history. What are your assets or what do you have? Checking, savings, stocks, bonds, IRAs, stuff like that. Okay, great. Let's talk about your credit history. What are your debts? What's your credit score? And then talking a little bit about the property. And I'm guiding the conversation back to that all the time. So if we get off track, I'm going back to, oh, great. What was the start date on that job again? Or things like that. Right. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, yeah, this guy qualifies to buy a house, has the income, has the credit history. And this is the rate we can give him because of his credit score, things like that. Right. And so, are you looking for certain key stops along that conversation? Does that make sense? So maybe you could relate that
Yeah,
to yeah.
yeah. I mean, again, right? We want to know how much product they're going to store on hand, and we want to understand the type of space that they'll be looking for. We want to know the order volume. And then is there seasonality to the business? We want to know about the SKU count, what it looks like. We want to know about the channels they sell into and what it looks like. What type of technology is going to need to be involved in terms of, is it just a Shopify connection, or are there multiple other channels that require software? We want to know about what, again, right? How the orders come in. Is it like, is it evenly spread out? Do they have certain spikes at, whether it's a weekend sale or whether it's this time of year? We want to know all that stuff. And we want to know, and then again, the size of the product for us is important, right? We try to stay away from anything too big and bulky. um you know um where the customers are. Some of our customers have a lot of international shipping, which adds another layer of complexity. So we just want to know that and understand that. Yeah. So really, like you said, right? It's just for someone in e-commerce, we want to know all the aspects of what that business looks like, so we can not only quote it properly, but then obviously understand what that's going to mean in terms of, if we win the project, what it's going to look like, and can we handle it. So I obviously will make sure that we can handle it, and B, we want to handle it before we would even make a proposal. But yeah, all those things are part of the discovery process, and knowing all the different aspects of their business.
Cool. Love that. Number one reason people go, no, don't want a 3PL partner.
I mean, there's a variety of reasons, right? Some people are fulfilling in house. They look at it and then they decide to stay in house. I mean, some people are very, very price driven, right? So sometimes too, it's strictly a price issue. Sometimes it's a region, or um, they want a company that's in this region or that region, or they want someone that's, some people I've seen are very particular about, they want someone close to them, where they want to be able to go, they're within driving distance where they can go see it at any time and be close to their inventory. Some people, if they're out, we're talking to someone right now that they're outsourcing, or they're changing manufacturers, right? That manufacturer, they're good, and they told us the deciding factor is they want someone in close proximity to where they have their goods manufactured. And so if they went with a certain destination, we'd be the front runner. But then if they went somewhere else on the West Coast, we wouldn't be, right? So sometimes that plays,
Yeah.
because there's constant freight costs from the manufacturer to the warehouse,
Yes.
and they want to keep that down. So there's really not a top reason per se that I see. I mean, it's all dependent on the business, and every business is different.
Cool. I'm getting the impression too that in the home loan business, it was like they need a loan. Now it's up to me to follow up and stay top of mind. So when they're going to get one, I'm going to be the guy. And so usually it was a short follow up cycle just to stay top of mind. So when they pulled the trigger, you're the guy. If it was a refinance or in a purchase, there's the average time to buy a house. I'm imagining it's the same kind of thing with you. Someone is going to know whether Easy DC 3PL is a good fit or not. There might be a couple other companies as well, but it's really trying to stay top of mind and show show by your responsiveness that you can be a trusted partner. Is that a good way to say that?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And that's the thing too with our sales cycle. Like we just had a customer come on that I was introduced to them before we even opened. Like we were about to open. So that sales cycle was literally about 2 years. And you know what I mean? So, and I've had others where they had an urgent need and it literally, the deal closed within less than a week. Right. And then, so but in general, the sales cycle I've seen it on average is several months, at least. So it really is dependent upon the customer and they're not going to move until they're ready. And then sometimes they're looking, but their situation wherever they're at isn't that bad. So they're looking and I don't need to move right now. And then all of a sudden something changes and then they do. And so, I mean, we see that often to where you'll be engaged, then the customer goes dark, then they engage back again. And um, so again, right, it's being responsive, it's being available, it's all these other things demonstrating that if and when they're ready, that you can be a good partner that customer can trust.
Amazing. Any favorite customer success story?
Um, Favorite customer success. Yeah, just one where she has a postpartum product and she's actually has a lab in her home and she was doing all the fulfillment herself. And she outsourced to us and she's got a couple young children and she told us several times like, wow, this is so much better that I don't have to pack orders and manage all that. And I wish I would have done this sooner, but moving into you guys was like the best thing that I ever did. Like, so when we hear that, it just really makes us feel good. And obviously, clearly, there's all the other reasons that you start a business and grow a business, but it's so refreshing to hear stories like that and realize that the impact that you can have on someone else's life.
Yeah, good. Thank you for sharing that. Anybody again watching, listening, easydc3pl.com, easydc3pl.com, just like I said it, all letters and numbers. And I will make sure to put in the show notes, if they're still accessible, the two links for the books that you mentioned. So just in case people want access to the books, are those still available?
Yeah, they're on. If you just look me up on Gumroad, they're out there, so you can see them there.
Okay, cool. Uh, on Gumroad, and when somebody literally just look up Dave Gulas on Gumroad, and then those
Yep.
books pop up.
Mhm.
Cool. Speed round. If you were going to start a business today outside of fulfillment, what would it be?
Oh man. Um, it would probably be something like broadcasting, probably content related. Because I see so much of that, and like I think I'm good. And again, right, I have right the podcast is starting to grow, so eventually that'll have you know more monetization there. But yeah, it would probably be something like that.
Yeah, great. And everyone, check out uh, Dave's podcast. He interviewed me. Super fun. It was a great interview. You were absolutely present. So that was cool. And it's the Beyond Fulfillment podcast. If you were going to sell a product yourself in the e-com space, what would it be?
Oh man, so I can't tell you specifically, but I'm a big health nut, so it would be something health related. I think it would have to be something that I believe in, that I'm passionate about. So something health related.
Cool. You had said It's interesting because you're like, oh, uh, low low unit count. What did you had all these things like
Yeah.
low unit count, small weight. What were some other
Yeah, yeah,
things?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
you would
yeah,
want
you
to,
talking about.
yeah. Go ahead, tell me the key
Oh, yeah.
metrics for your like, yeah.
Well, yeah, for a 3P, if you think about what a 3PL wants, they want something that's not going to take up a ton of space, that turns quick, that doesn't have a high SKU count, so there's less probability for error, for products getting mixed up or anything like that. So I mean, yeah, if you ask about what every 3PL would be ideal for every 3PL, would be something like that.
Cool. So is your health product going to be run through that metric, or you're like, nope, I would just pick something. I don't care. I'm going to sell pills that we're going to have a million.
No, yeah, it would probably absolutely fit within that too, right? Because again, right, simple, easy, small, lightweight, and yeah, that's so now you got me thinking. But I'm not trying to start a I'm not trying to start another business right now. But yeah, if it's a product, a physical product that I would sell and get behind, just off the top of my head, it would be something that I would want to use consistently. And I guess the first thing that comes to mind is something that would help improve health.
Hey, I was not trying to encourage you to start another business, but I thought, hey, on the fly, maybe we could come up with something good, and someone listening could go, "Oh yeah, I'll do it. It's got a low SKU count. It doesn't take up much space, and it's got high turnover." I suppose. What do you want it light too? I guess
Yeah, yeah, lightweight. Yep.
lightweight. Do we care where it's going really, or are you like, well, in a perfect world, it would be all America or all Kentucky or all California.
Yeah. I mean, again, right? I guess we don't care because the more the merrier. But it's certainly easier to ship domestically only than internationally because every country is different, and there's just different complexities that you have to manage when you're doing that. But again, that's all part of the job.
Cool, cool. And I have two more questions for you, and then I'm going to let you get back to your day. Uh, two more sets of questions, perhaps. In the 2 years since you've started uh, Easy DC 3PL, ChatGPT AI has really come to the forefront of public consciousness. So lots of tools, lots of automations available. Are you seeing it transform what you're doing already in 2 years, or no, overhyped?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. Listen, I view AI as a tool, right? Just like you know what I mean? Just like if someone's an auto mechanic and they're changing a tire, right? Are you going to just use a wrench, or are you going to use a drill that can just pull the nuts off, like immediately, right? So I view AI as just a tool that can help you get things done a lot quicker. So we use it a lot with the podcast, right? It helps out tremendously, and um, we've used it to put SOPs in place. I mean, it's amazing what you can, right? You can get a boilerplate SOP, right, and then you can just adjust it as need be. It's great for ideas in terms of I use it even if I'm trying to write, like if I'm having a difficult conversation or I have to write a difficult email. I say, how would you say this? And like as you learn how to use it more too, when the different prompts that you can give it, it's really seems to be limitless. So I use it all the time, however I can, and I just view it as a tool to improve and come up with ideas that I wouldn't have had otherwise, or just get things done quicker. So yeah, absolutely, I would encourage everybody to. I tell my kids the same thing. I said, you should be learning exactly how to use this and how it can make your life better for sure.
Amazing. Run me through really quick using AI, and you're using it to develop SOPs. Give me a quick, like, talk to me about that. How would you'd go into Chat GPT and say, I'm doing this process, write me an SOP for it, and then you go, well, that's pretty good. Or
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I mean, even for the warehouse management system we use, you just type it in there specifically for that, and it'll come up with, how to do certain functions and all written out. in terms of, putting together a training manual for others. Yeah, it's all, it comes out. I mean, again, you still got to go through it and you got to maybe adjust as need be, but it's a hell of a rough draft for sure.
Cool. I
But
love that. So,
and it's instant, right? So
yeah.
why wouldn't you want to leverage that when you think about, um, before AI, what it was like coming up with stuff and whatnot? Why wouldn't you want to shortcut the process and get more done in less time?
No, I love it. So are you saying you're going into Chat GPT, I'm assuming, for your SOP, and you're saying, hey, Chat GPT, here's the steps of a process we have in the warehouse, create a manual for me, and then seeing it, and then it'll spit out a rough draft. Is that what I'm hearing you
Yeah,
say? Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
love that.
or even just different aspects of the software too, right? Meaning, whether it's purchase orders or receipts or all these things. If we want to put together a training manual that new people can come in and see exactly and have a written guide to do. I mean, it makes the process so much easier if other than just trying to write it, you know, on your own, just starting
Yeah,
from scratch.
love it. Favorite AI apps?
Well, again, for the podcast, I got to shout out Cast Magic, right? So if you have a podcast and you haven't tried Cast Magic, yeah, try that for sure. I mean, it's super easy. I mean, it's just lot of bells and whistles and very affordable. And yeah, I would say that's my favorite at the moment.
Cool. And then Chat GPT, obviously, to
Yeah,
help
yeah,
you,
of course.
yeah, to write things, emails, SOPs, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Google Gemini too. I really like. I mean,
Oh,
that's a good one too. I mean, it's very similar to Chat, but they have their nuances.
yeah. So is Google Gemini your go-to then versus for me it's Chat GPT or
Yeah, so I have the Chat app on my phone, and then I have Google on my browser. You know what I mean? So oftentimes, if I'm on a computer, I'll just type it in Gemini, and then I have the Chat GPT app on my phone. So I guess it just
cool, cool.
depends where I'm at, what I'm doing.
Yep, love it. I referred some people to you. You very graciously referred a few people to me. But tell me, how did you gain any traction with Lunch with Norm?
I really appreciate those referrals, and I looked at those shows. All those shows too were, they had like a decent following. I was impressed. So one of them said they were taking a break from podcasting, and then the other two, I don't know that I got a response actually.
Oh, cool.
Um, so
Cool.
I actually, yeah, I probably should follow. I was just thinking about that because I saw you on my calendar today, and I was thinking about that. So that is, I'm gonna make a note to follow up with those people too.
Yeah,
But
Traffic Ninjas definitely replied. And I think Kelsey too may have replied. I think there was some replies. Maybe they didn't hit reply all, and they just hit reply to me. So I'll look at those myself. I just assumed that you had continued with those conversations. Um, cool. What was I going to say? I think this is a great place to stop. Inevitably, when I hit stop, I think, oh, I wished I'd have said, or I should have said, or I meant to say. Anything come to your mind, Dave?
yeah, no, I just want to say thanks so much for having me. Really appreciate it and love what you're doing. And yeah, if anyone wants to get in touch, learn more or talk further, yeah, you'll link all my info there. And yeah, feel free to reach out. And I'm always accessible on LinkedIn. So yeah, definitely reach out on LinkedIn. Unless you're a salesperson with one of those bad habits, then absolutely do not reach out. But if you have if you have something of substance of value to say or to add, by all means, reach out to me.
Fantastic. Dave, this has been a ton of fun. I will hit stop and we'll say goodbye offline. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Table Rush Talk Show. For resources to help you sell your stuff, go to belove.media/resources. That's belove.media/resources. And be sure to subscribe, comment, 5-star, and share. Thank you again for listening.